All right, if you guys want to stand up, if you're comfortable, won't you worship with us? Come on, we sing. And you are all that matters, the one I want. And longing just to know you with all my heart. Come on, we sing. And I throw all of my sin erased. This isn't the end of the story. I trust in what you say. Told me I'll be okay. It's turning around for your glory. And I know when the fight comes, I'ma keep my head up. Hey.
You won't let me down, let me down.
You're with me in the middle of my battle. Hey.
You will never be the one to walk away. I was made to know you from the start. Love without condition is who you are, who you are. I throw my shame away, all of my sin erased. This isn't the end of the story. I'm trusting what you say. Told me I'll be okay. It's turning around for your glory.
And I know when the fight comes, I'ma keep my head up. Hey.
You won't let me down, let me down.
You're with me in the middle of my battle. Hey.
You will never be the one to walk
And I know when the fight comes, I'ma keep my head up. Hey.
You won't let me down, let me down.
You're with me in the middle of my battle. Hey.
You will never be the one to
While
walk
we sing.
away.
And I know what my Father says.
You will never be the one to walk away.
And I know what my Father says.
You will never be the one to walk away.
It's up like this.
I know when the fight comes, I'ma keep my head up. Hey, you won't let me down. Me in the middle of my battle. Hey, you will never be the one to walk away.
I know when the fight comes, I'ma keep my head up. Hey.
You won't let me down, let me down.
You're with me in the middle of my battle. Hey.
You will never be the one to walk away.
Yeah, I know when the fight comes, I'ma keep my head up. Hey.
You won't let me down, let me down.
You're with me in the middle of my battle. Hey.
You will never be the one to walk away.
Yeah, I know what my Father said.
You will never be the
Come on,
one
we
to
sing.
walk away.
And I know what my Father says.
You will never be the one to walk away.
And I know what my Father said.
You will never be the one to walk away.
And I know what my Father said.
You will never be the one to walk away.
Come on, you guys know this next one. Won't you sing it with us? And I was buried beneath my shame. That kind of way. It was my tomb till I met you. And I was breathing but not alive. And all my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. on, we sing your mercy. Your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new, Jesus, when I met you. Oh, you call my name, you call my name, and out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. Oh, we believe this, we sing this together. This is true, come on. My sin was heavy, the chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan. Now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, and when you call my name, and out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. Give me a shout of praise tonight, come on.
Sing this out with me. There's a table that you prepared for me in the presence of my enemy. It's your body, your blood, you shed for me. This is how I find my battle. There's a table that you prepared for me in the presence of my enemy. It's your body, your blood, you shed for me. This is how I find my
do me a favor and give it up for these guys, if you can hear me. You guys can go ahead and have a seat. There we are. Thanks for being here online, wherever you're watching from. Thanks for tuning in. Isn't it nice that it's Wednesday? I don't know about you, but I look forward to this week so much. Let me tell you a little bit of what's happening in November before we get going with our message tonight. I don't know if you know this, but there are 4 Wednesdays in November, and this is the first one of those. Now, we're actually only meeting one more week this entire month, which is pretty crazy. But it's one of those weird months that next week is Veterans Day, so you're out of school and we're going to take off as well. And then the following Wednesday, the 18th, we are doing a special event called Friendsgiving. And what we want to do is just have a ton of fun, a time for you to bring your friends and to hang out with your small group. And so it's going to be an outside event. We're going to have group competitions. We're going to have some food. And it's going to be a really fun time. This, for me, is one of my favorite events all year long. And so we're just going to have a blast that night, hang out together, eat together, and celebrate Thanksgiving as friends. Y'all cool with that? And then, of course, that following week is the Wednesday before actual Thanksgiving, and so we won't meet that one either. So we only have one more. And so I just want to ask, would you show up? Would you bring your friends? Would you bring your sports teams? Would you bring your clubs? Because we want to go big on this night, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Here's one thing you can do tonight for this. When you go to your small groups, in every small group room, there is a giant foam sign. And you guys are going to get a chance to decorate that sign however you would like. There's some supplies right next to it. But you're going to decorate that sign because that's what's going to mark your small group area for the competition. Okay, so you can come up with colors or a name or whatever you like, but just make sure it says middle school guys, middle school girls, high school girls, one of those 4 on it. Can you guys do that? Awesome. So those are in your small group rooms. Now, I have some bad news and some good news about tonight. The sad news is that our guest speaker isn't able to make it here. Because of work, they weren't able to work out their schedule. We had planned on it, and then work switched it up, so they weren't able to be here. But the good news is, me and this guest speaker actually were able to get together today and film this. So I know this is a little bit different, and we're going to sort of watch a movie, but I think it's going to be super impactful and super helpful. And I have to say, this is like my favorite guest speaker in the entire world. And so it's a really special thing that we got to film this. So we're going to kind of watch a movie for the next few moments together. But I don't know about you, but every time I go to the movies, I like to have popcorn. So that's just what I like. And if you guys want some, your leaders are walking around right now passing out some popcorn. A couple of rules with the popcorn. None of this should end up on the floor. Say, listen, Bradley, none of this will end up on the floor. Say, Bradley, I'm so thankful for this popcorn, I will make sure I throw it away in a trash can. Please do me that service. We're going to hang out together. I know, guys, this message is going to be so helpful. And again, I think it's going to be helpful because this is my favorite speaker I'll ever hear. Check it out. Well, hey guys, as you can see, our special guest is my beautiful smoking hot wife.
Hey guys, I'm Jamie. I wish so bad I could be there in person with you guys tonight. I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, and unfortunately I am still at work right now while you guys are having a blast at Velocity. So this is the best we got. I wish I could be there. I know you guys are having a great time.
Yeah, we hate we can't be there in person, but also this is kind of cool because we're actually filming this the same day. So we woke up early this morning and had our coffee, and this is sort of going to be like what we would talk to you about if you came over to our house and had coffee with us in the morning. And so like we have some things that we're prepared to say because this is something that's really important to us, this topic. But also we're just going to sort of talk as if we were really having coffee together. And so here's a little bit of what this series has been. It's called Cause and Effect, and we're talking through the things that you do now impacting your later. And that's tough sometimes to think about, but the truth is you don't become the kind of person that you want to be just with one decision. It doesn't happen overnight, and too often we think, well, one day I'll just be this kind of husband, be this kind of father, be this kind of wife, be this kind of coworker, whatever it is. But that doesn't just happen overnight. It's usually small decisions over time that build you into who you're going to become. And so we've been talking through a few different things that we see in the book of Proverbs that are just life skills that are super important, that if we can begin to develop them now, it will change your later. And so the one we're talking about now, tonight, is I almost said this morning because it's morning, but also tonight, is one that has really been helpful for our marriage. A little bit about us. We've been married for 2 years now, just over 2 years, like 2 years and a week now,
Yeah.
right? And we have a baby boy on the way, Brecken Thomas Hamilton. So he has my same initials, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But so we've been married 2 years, and I'm probably going to try and make her blush a lot on this. So I keep saying some of the things that I do because she blushes really easily, so it'll be fun to watch. But this topic has really been essential for us. It's been something that you learn a lot in marriage, but this is one of those ideas that you can use in every single relationship. So I think this topic is going to be super helpful in your relationship with your parents, in your relationship with your friends, in your relationships with your coaches and your teachers, especially given that Thanksgiving is coming up and you're about to have all kinds of people around you and family members maybe that you're not super stoked to be around. And I think this is going to be super, super, super helpful. And if you can learn it now, it will change your relationships later. And that topic is patience. So this, you've heard this before. It sounds just kind of like one of those words we throw around all the time. But what does it look like to be patient in your relationships? And you know this, sometimes it's the funny small things that really wear on your patience. Now, I know I've never done anything that would wear on my wife's patience.
Never.
But she has a couple. She came up with this list pretty quickly. What's some things that I do that wear on your patience?
No. So one of the things you need to know about Bradley is the biggest night owl you will ever meet. So I get home from work, like I get up, have my coffee, like I'm not a morning person, but nowhere near the night owl he is. And so I get home from work and we eat dinner, we get in bed, I'm ready to like fall asleep. And Bradley wants to process all of the world's problems and talk about every conversation he had through the day. And I've just had to learn to be patient and enjoy those conversations, even though I'm really tired and it's usually around midnight.
Yeah, she's usually like, can we talk about this later? That's a lot.
It sounds so horrible.
No, I do. And I know I'm annoying that way. Okay, but let's be real. I have to be patient when Jamie can't find her anything.
Never.
Her phone, her lunchbox, her coffee, the remote. I have a spot for everything. Is anyone else like me? I have a remote spot.
He
And,
really
like,
does. Like when I use the
it's
remote
just
at
on
night,
the nightstand.
he can't find it. He's like, "Why isn't it in your remote spot?" And I'm like, "Who has a remote spot?"
Right? No, everything just has a spot. If my phone's missing, it's probably in the couple of spots where I keep my
I
phone.
love it when he does lose his phone on rare occasion.
Very rarely. But with Jamie, if her phone's missing, it could be in the car. It could be in the refrigerator. That's a true story. We have found it there once.
One time.
It could be anywhere. And so she can't keep up with anything. So I have to work on my
It's kind of
patience.
true. It's kind of true. Okay, girls, you'll understand this one. So, especially since being pregnant, in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll have to pee. And, the lights are out. I'm trying not to, wake up too much, so I don't want to turn the lights on because then I'll never fall back asleep. So I get up, I go in the bathroom, and I sit down and splash, I'm in the toilet bowl because someone forgot to put the toilet seat down. So that one's been fun.
I was talking through this and I was like, I've gotten better at that. And she was like, no, you haven't.
No.
You haven't. I've gotten maybe 5% better at that in the 2 years.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you 5%.
Now, guys, we can laugh about some of these, right? And like you laugh, but here's the truth. Most of the fights we get in with the people closest to us start over something really small like this, don't they? I mean, think about the fights that maybe you've had this past week or month with your friends or with your parents. They usually start over little things that aren't a big deal, that wear on our patience and cause us to explode or react in some kind of crazy way. And I bet you've been in this seat. I mean, I've never done this, but I've sat back and looked at myself and gone, like, I overreacted there. Like, that was a little much. That issue really wasn't a big deal. And really, it's this idea of how do we become patient people that let the small things that don't really matter at the end of the day roll off of our back, and that we can kind of walk through relationships better and not fight over all of these little annoyances, because the truth is everyone has them. Everyone gets annoyed by things all the time. And the closest you are to people, the closer you are to people, the more you're going to see this, right? Because you're spending more time together and all of their little flaws are going to be seen. And so when you look around your relationships, patience is going to be one of those things that if you can learn now, it will change your later. So we've been looking at the book of Proverbs, and these are writings written by a guy named Solomon. And Solomon, even historically, was known as the wisest man who ever lived. So a ton of wisdom, a ton of success. But as he's passing on his wisdom to his sons, he writes all of these things down in Proverbs. And so you can go read it. There's a ton of great life lessons. And so we've just tried to pull out a couple of them that we felt really personally and that we wanted to share. But talking about patience specifically, he says this in Proverbs 19:11. He says, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. And what he's saying here, this idea of patience yielding wisdom, or wisdom yielding patience. You remember last week we talked about wisdom and how it's just walking with this knowledge, with this experience, doing the right things. And he goes, if you want to be a wise person, walking in wisdom will yield, it will grow, it will produce patience. It's what comes out of a wise person. And then he says it's to one's glory to overlook an offense. And I love this idea because glory is one of those words that, especially in church, like you're like, what does that even mean? But really what he's saying here is it's to your best to overlook an offense. In other words, if you want to experience your best, then it doesn't look like going through life being offended at every little thing that everyone does. But if you want to experience your best, then it means overlooking the little things. And not just you're going to be at your best, but he also is saying your relationships are going to be at your best. Because often we get so thrown off by things that really at the end of the day don't matter. And what would it look like to walk in patience and to push through those? So we just want to give you 3 really simple, really easy things that you can do this week to build patience in your life. And as I'm getting into these, our dog is like clawing his way out of the room, so he might be loud in a moment, but this is just what you get. This is what you would get if you came over to our house, right?
Yes.
So we might have to go do something with him in a little bit. But 3 really simple things, and I just want to challenge you. Would you do these this week? They're really, really simple. They're really easy, but they are so life-changing if you will actually apply them. And so, babe, tell us the first one.
Okay, so the first one is just to pause. So in the moment, you know, when I'm sitting in the toilet water in the middle of the night, just
Will not let that one go.
instead of, you know, slamming the toilet seat down or getting angry, the first thing...
Which you've done.
Okay, I'm not going to deny it, maybe once or twice. But the first thing you can do is just pause and, you know, think about, you know, just take a minute, pause, think about why those things are happening. So, for instance, like with the toilet seat, yeah, we laugh about it, but Bradley was always taught to lift the toilet seat up so he didn't get pee on the seat, which is a really good thing.
We're being real with you guys. You're getting the real stuff.
Or, you know, I get, you know, kind of impatient at night when I'm ready to go to bed and he wants to talk about everything, but I need to pause and realize, like, that's a great thing that my husband wants to communicate, you know, his day to me and that we're so open with each other. So the first thing is just to pause and not react out of anger.
Yeah, because even right there, just pausing, I know for me, I tend to speak first and then think. And if I were to just pause sometimes and not just immediately react, I would avoid so much regret, so much relational hurt, and I would say less dumb things than I do. So that's the first thing, just pause. And right there, that'll help so much. But then the second thing I would challenge you guys to do is to choose to believe the best. This is one of those things that you have to learn how to do in every relationship. it is so easy to just default automatically believe the worst. And we're sort of wired this way. So when your parents ground you or do something, you're like, well, they just hate me. They don't like me. They don't get me. They don't want me to go to this party, whatever it is. Or when a friend doesn't invite you, you just automatically assume they don't like me, whatever. But what if we chose to believe the best and really think maybe there's a different motivation than the default negative one we've come up with? Maybe your parents are trying to protect you, and maybe they see something in that environment that they don't want you in. Maybe your parents reacted that way because there's a ton on their plate and they're going through a lot and trying to pay bills and feed you and keep you alive. And so they're just walking through a lot themselves, and that's why they reacted that way. Maybe your friend just legitimately forgot, or maybe something went wrong on the Facebook link or whatever. Not that you use Facebook anymore. But whatever it is, we can choose to believe the best in other people.
Yeah, and one example, this is like super petty and just like an everyday thing, but even like texting each other back, like one thing we've had to realize is like sometimes I get frustrated. I want an answer like right then because I'm being impatient. So I text Bradley and I'm getting so frustrated that he's not, texting me back. But what I should be doing is pausing and believing the best in him, and that, he's at work, he's busy, and he's doing those things to provide for our family. So that's just one, kind of everyday.
Yeah, but also I am the worst texter.
Yeah, don't ever expect a response right away.
Sorry in advance to all my future texters. So those are the first two: pause, choose to believe the best. And then this third one is especially huge when it's people you don't know well. So the first two you do with everyone. The third one, I think there are people that just rub you the wrong way that you see at school, or that it's a teacher, or that it's someone that you just have seen, and there's something about them that just gets so on your nerves, or they keep doing something that just rubs you the wrong way. Maybe you see on social media they just disagree with you, and so they just really rub your patience. And so with people that we don't know super, super well in relationship, but that really rub on our patience, this third thing we have to do is to learn their story. We have to begin to choose to learn other people's story and realize that there is more going on maybe behind the scenes than we see. And honestly, everyone does things that make sense to them, right? So they're doing that for some reason, and maybe you just don't have an understanding of what's going on in their life. And so what you see as an annoyance or something, how could they do that? I can't believe them, whatever. You would actually begin to grow in your love for people and in patience if you would choose to talk with them, to learn what's going on, to say, hey, what's going on behind the scenes here, and learn where they came from and the lens they view the world from. And it takes a humble person to do this, but we've got to begin to learn people's story.
Yeah, I have a really embarrassing story I'm going to share with you guys. It definitely isn't my proudest moment, but at one of my previous jobs, I was working as a nurse, and one day at work, I was working 12, 13, 14-hour shifts, and one day I was in a pod, which is just like a group of nurses for that set of hospital rooms, and I was in a pod with this lady, and I felt like I was doing all of my work plus taking care of her patients. Like, her call light would go off, and I would have to go and, see what her patients needed. And she was just like sitting at her desk, not doing anything. And I was getting so impatient and so frustrated. Oh, sorry, I'm hitting the table, so I'm making the camera wobble. But yeah, so that's how frustrated it was. I was just getting like, I already have all my work to do, and now I'm doing all of hers, and she's just sitting on the computer, or she's on her phone, and I was super frustrated. So, later that day, it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I hadn't eaten lunch because I was doing all of our work. And I went to the break room, and I was like trying to scarf down some food real quick. And one of my best friends was in the break room with me, and I was like, I am so frustrated. Like, so-and-so is just like not doing anything today. Like, I am doing all my work plus her work. I'm exhausted. Like, I was not being a very nice person. And that friend happened to be a little bit closer to this other lady we worked with, and she said, Jamie, she hasn't talked about this yet, but she actually just got diagnosed with cancer this week, so she's probably trying to deal with all the doctor's appointments and, the emotions that come with that. And I was so humbled because I I didn't pause. I didn't believe the best, and I hadn't taken the time to like learn her story and learn why this was happening. I was just impatient and frustrated, and really responding out of anger, which is all the things we're talking about not doing.
And I love that my wife can share that, because if you know her, she's like the nicest person ever. So I don't even really believe that story that she was mad. But the truth is, we've all probably been there, right? I know I have. I've been in that situation where we just make all of these assumptions. We judge people, and we're so quick to believe the worst, to blow up. And you've probably been there, maybe even this week with someone. There's probably someone on your mind now that you blew up at a sibling, or you blew up at your parents, and there was something there that you just didn't know was going on. And so we have to develop a practice of learning people's story, of hearing what's going on behind everything else, and just make this part of our life. Because the truth is, if you've been hurt by someone, you have to know that hurting people hurt people. And so they didn't just hurt you because it's just natural. They hurt you because they're probably dealing with something themselves, or they've been hurt in some way, and so they lash out at someone else. And so it's really easy just to write them off because they did something wrong. But the truth is, maybe they're hurting. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're processing through some tough stuff. And often, and this is just true, this is something that I wish more people had told me in high school and in middle school, but often the meanest people are the most insecure. Mm-hmm. And so when someone was mean or rude to me, it just affected me so much. And I wish now, looking back, I could just realize, they're hurting. They're insecure. There's probably something about them that they're dealing with. And so they're trying to project that onto me. And so what would it look like if we began to not just get hurt by all these offenses, but actually try to love the people around us, even if they don't deserve it, even if they were rude or were mean, and we just chose to believe the best and know there may be something going on in their life, and how can I help? And how can I love them? The truth is, you can control you. And so maybe just developing patience is something that even this week God's bringing up for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe it's coincidence that he's brought us this message this week, that I know he's using it for so many of you. And even for us, it was really cool to kind of walk through this and talk through this. And I know that God wants us to grow in our patience continually. And that's the truth. It's not just something that just happens, right?
Right. One thing you have to realize with patience is that all these things we're talking about, pausing, choosing to believe the best, learning people's story, those aren't things that you're just going to be able to do overnight and that you're just going to be good at overnight. You're not going to tomorrow wake up, be frustrated, and just, automatically pause. It's going to be something you have to put work into on making a habit. And the more you practice being patient and doing those 3 things we talked about today, the more it will be, your default, and the more it'll be, the way you handle everyday situations. I wish that someone would have told this to us when we were younger, because yes, we've done a good job at practicing that in our marriage, but how cool is it that you guys can start doing this now, and you can develop these habits so that when you start dating someone, or that you're in our spot later on, married, about to have a baby, you'll already be good at these things.
Absolutely. So we're actually going to close a little bit different activity, and we're going to practice this right now. Before we go, again, I just want to say we love you guys. We're so thankful that you're here tonight and that you allowed us to do this video. And I didn't tell her I was going to do this, but I want to say publicly thank you for being patient with me, because you have to have a lot of patience to marry this. And you're just one of the most patient people I know. And so thank you for that. And thanks for doing this and for talking with us and taking time to share with us. So. Guys, I'm actually going to come out on stage and walk you through the next activity.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Guys, wasn't she awesome? I mean, I told you she was one of my favorite speakers, so I'm a little biased there. Here's the truth. Don't miss this. I know it's easy kind of to check out and to move on, but don't miss this for a second. The reason we are patient with other people is because we have a God who is so patient with us. It's so easy to feel like we make one mistake or do one thing wrong and like God will turn his back or walk away from us, and that's not the God that we serve. The God that we serve sees every mistake, every thought, every failure. Doesn't matter if it was last year, last month, an hour before you got here. God sees that. But he doesn't hold those things against us. Because of what he did in Jesus, because of Jesus trading places with us, we get everything Jesus was entitled to. We get perfection. We get countless second chances. We get the chance to be a new creation. And Jesus took on everything that we would carry because of those mistakes. He takes on our guilt. He takes on our shame. He takes on the fact that mistakes would condemn us. But because of Jesus, we have a patient God. And so I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel frustrated trying to follow after God because I can't always do it right. And I just got to realize that God's not expecting us to always get it right. God's looking at us with patience, and he walks with us. And so because we get that kind of a relationship with God, and it feels ridiculous to not give that out to other people and to hold other people to a standard that God's not holding me to. And so that's a lot of why we do all of this. And so I just want to close by doing this. I don't know about you, but as Jamie and I were writing that, they were very specific people. We talked about it after we clicked off the camera. Very specific people that we needed to pray for patience with. And maybe during this, God's brought someone up in your mind. A teacher, a friend, a sibling, a parent. And I just think that if we're going to practice patience, what better time to start than now? And so what I want to ask us to do is just bow our heads, close our eyes. Don't think about the person to our right or to our left. Don't think about the popcorn in front of us just for a moment. But instead, think about that person that God's placing on your heart. That person that the entire time we were thinking about it, you were like, that is the person that I can't stand, that just drives my patience crazy. And I want to ask that you would do this. We're going to be silent for just a moment. Would you pray for that person? And I don't mean like pray they get hurt, okay? I mean really pray for them. That God would bless them, that God would show them his love, that they would experience the joy that you have in Christ. And even there, I think you'll start to see your heart change in patience with some of these people. But right now, just pray. And I'll close this out in just a moment. God, we thank you for your patience toward us. That I can't even begin to fathom the amount of times I have messed up. I have done something stupid. I've done something straight up against you, and yet you continue to love me as a patient Father. God, right now we just come to you and ask that you would help us to be patient with those around us. That we don't want to keep blowing up our friendships and blowing up relationships in our family, that we want to be people who walk in patience and see the best in our relationships. And so God, would you just help give us that right now? It is something we can only do in your strength and in your power. And as we begin to pray for these people, I pray we would continue to pray for them. God, that you would do something in our hearts. That we wouldn't just be patient people one day, but that right now you would help us develop that habit. God, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for speaking to us clearly. It is not coincidence that any of us are in the room. Some of us, you just wanted us to grow in patience. Some of us, you wanted to remind us of the relationship that we have in you. And so God, I pray for that student right now who is understanding something new about their relationship with Jesus. Maybe even starting that relationship for the first time because they felt like they had messed up and were too far gone from you, God, but that you are just so in love with them and for them, and that all they have to do is just come to a relationship with Jesus and you forgive them. And that can start tonight. God, I thank you for what you're doing all around the room. God, I just pray, would you continue to move in these next few moments as we just sing your word out. It's your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Come on, wasn't that message good tonight? Well, if you guys are comfortable, we're going to sing another song with you guys. This song's called Who You Say I Am. If you know it, won't you sing it?
It's free, hope is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Realize He has ransomed me, His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Who the Son sets free, home is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, home is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Come on, we believe that tonight. We sing every voice. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Come on, every voice.
I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am
Well, you guys are dismissed for small groups, so you guys know where to go. Thank you guys. See ya.